Hi everyone, and welcome to another My Kids Locker COVID-19 Ed podcast episode. This is Victoria Wolders, your host, and I'm so excited that you've joined us today. Well, if you are new to this episodes, then basically what these episodes are educational activities and lessons. On Mondays, we have a challenge or a special episode. On Tuesdays to Fridays, we have an empathy tale with an activity and lesson, as well as on Saturdays, we have a special moment brought to you by Happy Parents of BC. So, today we are going to be focusing on a new story called The Broken Man and the Broken Bowl. I hope that today, while we move through this episode to listen, create, and innovate, you'll take some time to put your creations up on hashtag MyKidsLocker, hashtag COVID-19Ed. I would love to see what you have and what you've created. Well, as a mom and a teacher, I am excited to be able to bring you this podcast. And hopefully, through this podcast, you will be able to learn a little bit more about virtues, perspective taking, possibly some empathy and compassion. Well, without further ado, we are now moving on to part 1.
To part 1. Are you comfy? Are you cozy? Well, get ready to listen.
Welcome to part 1. Here we are where we listen and we focus on a quote or a statement that brings about some positive aspects in our lives. Well, today we are doing the story called The Broken Man and the Broken Bowl. These stories, these empathy tale stories, were all told to my own kids by their bedside, and over the last year, I've been recording empathy tale episodes. You can check those out on the Empathy Tales podcast. With the COVID-19 Ed podcast, I've taken those stories and I've turned them into lessons. And today's quote is, "We learned from this lesson, something that might be broken may actually still be still precious." I'll say that one more time. We learned from this lesson, something that might be broken may actually be still precious. In Japan, there is a tradition where if a bowl is broken, they will put the bowl back together with precious gold or some sort of special precious material. I learned this recently from someone I know, and I thought it was a very special way of recognizing how when we are broken, if we put ourselves back together, we'll actually learn some lessons from it. And sometimes what happens is in Japan, when you're making those bowls that are broken, they become worth a lot more money because they have a precious material or precious gold in them. So today, as you listen to the story, I want you to think about how precious you are, how important you are. You're beautiful. You're amazing. And even though sometimes we might be broken, meaning broken inside, meaning that we get upset, maybe we become overwhelmed. Sometimes what happens is from that experience, we actually come to know ourselves better and give ourselves that peace. And in doing so, we can actually give that peace to other people too, and give them the kindness and love that they need when they're broken and when they're upset or when they're angry. Well, I hope that you enjoy today's lesson, and we are going to be moving on to part 2.
Hi everyone, welcome back to part 2 today. We are going to create something amazing, and let's get crafty. Bye.
Welcome to part 2. So today we are going to be focusing on express. So this is an opportunity for you to decide on how you want to show your understanding of our story that I'm about to tell you. Maybe you might want to act it out. Maybe you might want to bring out your musical instrument. Maybe you might want to bring out a piece of paper and draw a picture. Some of us might even want to bring out a piece of paper and do a journal reflection, or maybe take some notes. Today, you get to decide. So, this story today is about a man with some struggles. He moves from poverty and being very poor to being very wealthy. His one single treasure was a bowl, and the bowl breaks. And you're going to get to learn how a single bowl can build connection and teach about helping others. This week, we've been looking at characters, what characters are, why they are important, and different aspects of them in our lessons and our activities. Well, I hope today you will take some time to think about the main character. Now, when we're talking about the main character, we're talking about someone here who is the main focus of the story, who often develops as a character. Perhaps they start off struggling and they go over that struggle and then they become a new person. Maybe they win something, maybe they get something, and whether that means that they get a prize or whether they maybe gain something internally, as in maybe they learn how to be kind or maybe they learn how to be courageous or brave. There are many different ways that characters can be developed. So today, while we're learning about this empathy tale, I want you to think about his struggles as a character. Think about how he moves forward from poverty to wealth. And in doing so, you can show that through your E-Express, which means that you get to show us what your understanding is. As you know, we're working through the acronym of TALE, T-A-L-E, during our part twos, which means on Tuesdays we learn to tell, on Wednesdays we learn about art, Thursdays we learn about layout with design and architecture, and on Fridays we learn to express, and you get to have your choice. So I hope that you enjoy this beautiful story called The Broken Man and the Broken Bowl. Enjoy.
Once upon a time, a long time ago, in the land of the Oak and Eagle Kingdom, there lived a man who lived in a village. His name was Sadness. Sadness lived on the outskirts of the local village, and he lived in a cottage that was in the middle of a valley. And there was a beautiful river that meandered through the village and down to his cottage. The village was named after the river. It was called Meander. Sadness grew vegetables and fruit. His bountiful amount of fields and livestock were admired by many. Yet he felt that he was poor and he was a sad man. He had one possession that he delighted in. It was one ceramic bowl that was given to him by his mother. One day, a wizard came knocking at his door, and the wizard said to him, "Can I come in and have something to eat and share a meal?" "Well," Sadness replied, "of course you can. I would love for you to come and share a dinner with me." So the wizard came in, they had a lovely conversation, and after the meal, it was late at night, the wizard stood up to go to the door. Sadness became very grateful, as he had a new friend. He said, "Thank you so much for your hospitality, but I'm going off now." Well, the next morning the sun rose. The flowers were blooming brighter. The sun was shining brighter. It seemed like his livestock and his horses were happier too. Sadness felt happier. He chose to place the beautiful ceramic bowl on the windowsill so the light would make the bowl glow. Sadness was able to help a man, and for some reason he felt like there was a little bit more magic around his cottage. Well, A couple weeks passed, and the wizard showed up again, and the wizard said, "May I please share a meal with you?" "Of course. I would love to share a meal with you," Sadness agreed. "Come on in." So once again, they sat down and had a lovely dinner. And the wizard said once again, "I'm very impressed with your hospitality, and I know you do not have a lot of money, but I want to tell you that I'm grateful for the fact that you would give out of your poverty and be able to provide for me a meal." The wizard left, and Sadness went to sleep. The next morning he woke up, and there on the kitchen table, there were bags of money. Sadness was shocked. He was surprised, and he realized he was a wealthy man. He took the bags and went into the village of Meander, and within a year he was able to buy a castle with servants. He had 2 personal servants that would attend to his every need. Over a period of a year, he became a very selfish man. He only kept the money to himself, and in time, he grew sad and unhappy. Well, exactly a year later, he had a knock at the door. His servants opened the door, and the wizard said, I know your master. Please let me in so I can share a meal." Once Sadness saw the wizard, he was happy again. "Thank you so much for all this money. I am a wealthy man. Now come sit and enjoy a large meal with me." So as he sat at a very long table, the servants served the wizard and served Sadness. However, the servants were sad, and the wizard knew that this man had his heart hardened. The wizard said, "Why is there such sadness in your house? I remember when the flowers were blooming, there was happiness." He turned to the wizard. "Well, that's when I was poor. I didn't feel like I had much power. But now I do, because I have money and I own my servants." The wizard turned to him. "Please use your wealth for positive. Choose to be grateful for the gifts you have been given." Yeah, said Sadness. "Wizard, you don't know what you're talking about. I am very happy, and that's all that really matters." So, at that point, the wizard stood up and walked to the beautiful ceramic bowl Sadness had treasured. The wizard asked the question to the man, "Are you broken?" Sadness replied, "No, because of the money you've given me, I am no longer broken. I am no longer poor. I am rich, and I just needed the money. That's all I need." At that very moment, the wizard took the bowl and dropped it on the ground. It shattered into 100 pieces. The rich man said, "Why are you doing this? Get out of my house." The wizard said, "You have not learned how to be kind and compassionate with great money and great position. You will need to learn it." Sadness said, "How could you break my precious bowl? Leave now." Just as the wizard was leaving, he took the golden rope from his waist that was holding his cloak. The wizard replied, I am going to leave this here for you to remember that even though you don't think you're broken, you are broken. But there is hope in your brokenness. You need to remember that. Sadness glared at him and said, "Go. Go now." Sadness decided to go to his storage room where all his money was. He opened the door slowly, only to find broken bowls in the place of all his money bags. "Where is my money?" he said to his servants. The servants came running. The 3 servants stood in shock. The master was crying on his knees. Sadness said, "I'm not staying in this castle. I don't have enough money to afford to pay you. I don't have enough money to live my life. I'm going back into the valley." Just at that moment, one of the servants leaned over. "Sir, we know you are sad, and we know money is important to you, but please stay." And the man said, "No, I'm leaving now." He packed his bag and he went back to the valley. The 3 servants were left alone. They went back to the dining room and saw the one precious broken bowl, and they wondered about the golden rope. They said, "Oh, it looks like it's gold." So they melted the gold in a pot, and then they began to take the melted gold and put the pieces back together again. As they formed the new bowl with all the beautiful gold, they noticed the bowl was more beautiful than it ever had been. The younger servant said to the 2 older servants, "I think we have enough gold to last for a very long time. This gold rope is magical. If we go into the storage room where all the bowls are broken, I think we can use the gold to make beautiful bowls again." So they did. They kept boiling the golden rope, and they fixed all of the bowls that had laid broken. They used the gold to piece the 50 bowls back together. The bowls were beautiful compared to their original state. The servants took them and sold them in the village. The 3 servants became wealthy. Yet they chose not to sell the first bowl that was broken, and they decided out of kindness of their heart that they were going to go find Sadness. They would give him the money from the bowls and give him his precious one. This one bowl that was once broken, but now it looked glorious, and the gold etchings were magnificent to this broken bowl. The servants got in their beautiful carriage with their beautiful stallions, and they rode down the hill into the valley. As they approached the small cottage, they saw their master in torn clothes trying to sow seeds for the next harvest so that he would have fruits and vegetables once again. The man in the valley did not recognize the servants. He said, go away, I don't need you." One of the servants pulled out this beautiful bowl that Sadness treasured and that was once broken. They said, "We'd like to give this to you. We think this is the most valuable of all. It's the one that's used the most gold, and you can come live with us in the castle. We have done this to all the bowls and sold them. We have learned how to be kind. We learned how to be courageous and brave. We have the bowls, and the money is yours too. We can all live together in happiness and in harmony." Sadness looked and said, "Will you do that for me? Will you be able to help me in my weaknesses?" The 3 servants said yes. They took him into the carriage, and as they were riding out of the valley, all of them looked behind. The cottage seemed brighter, the valley was wondrous, and the green grass was illuminating. And they learned a very important lesson, that one thing that might be broken can actually be the most precious thing. It just takes time, it takes patience, and it takes something to put them back together. Thank you so much for listening to this empathy tale, and I hope that you enjoyed this beautiful story about the broken man and the broken bowl, and how we can learn from brokenness, and how brokenness can bring us together.
Hi everyone, it's time to innovate, part 3. Woo.
Well, welcome to part 3. This is where we innovate and extend our understanding. This is an optional section, but it's a great way for anyone who's listening to be able to build something new or create something new that extends from our part 2 activity. So your challenge today, you get to build your own bowl. Okay, so you can use maybe mud from outside, dirt from outside, if your mom and dad let you, or you can use paper and other materials, but you get to build your own bowl today. Some of us might be lucky enough to have materials for paper mache, or maybe you might have some clay or Play-Doh lying around, but you get to have an opportunity to build a bowl today. And remember, in the story, we have a broken bowl. So maybe what you might want to do is once you build it, you can break it, and then you can try to put it back together by gluing it together or maybe using another material. So I hope that you've enjoyed today's lesson. I want to remind you that you can always connect with me on social media. Okay, you can also hashtag MyKidsLocker and hashtag COVID-19Ed, because I would love to be able to see your creations. So, boys and girls and all those families that are listening, I hope that you enjoyed today's lesson, and I hope that you will be able to take some time today to reflect on the beauty of today. And you have less screens. You have time to listen, to create, and innovate. Until next time, boys and girls, this is Victoria Wolders, your My Kids Locker COVID-19 Ed podcast host, signing off. Thank you for joining us.